So I'll just start off with a real quick one, which is the signing of Icardi to PSG, and that's from Inter Milan. Just mentioning it because obviously it's a big transfer, 51 million, and it looks like that's official. We'll wait for the clubs both to respond, but that looks like the big one to start off this whole sort of transfer campaign. But we're going to go to Germany, where, as you know, German football at the moment is very hot. It's only elite football available, so all eyes on Germany. Not only that, they have abundance of talent. So when Premier League is looking for recruits, this is one place that all eyes on Germany right now. So as well as your sort of high-profile ones, your Sancho and your Haalands, I'm actually going to have a look at a couple of others first. So Timo Werner, big one for Liverpool. Big one. Last 3-4 months, this name and this club have been mentioned quite heavily. I think the main... We'll start off with the fact that he's 24 years old from Leipzig, and his goal-scoring record at the moment is on par with the best strikers in the world. If you value that league, and we understand, obviously, we dilute it slightly with stats when we're looking at maybe France and Germany. But to be fair to the Bundesliga, it's a strong league. Very good indicator of the talent that they have there. Timo Werner, Liverpool have courted him. Looking around, the only thing stopping this transfer from what we can see right now is potentially Liverpool hardballing decision. So they are interested in the player. The player is interested in them. This has been, this is roamed in the media. It's really well documented. It's just a case of Liverpool trying to potentially negotiate that fee down. It's a good thing to potentially do, but it's also risky. The reward is you pay less for the transfer fee when you know that person wants to come to you. The only other problem is you kind of invite a little bit of competition. So if you try the hardball tactics and another club is more than willing to sort of put down the money, there's every chance that the parent club will have a look at that and say, well, you know what, maybe we can negotiate terms with these guys and let's see if the player's sort of interested. So I know a particular club that's potentially looking would be Chelsea. You will have your usual suspects. When you talk about these particular talents, we're talking about really strong emerging talents in Europe. So obviously, if one set of scouts is looking at this talent, the usual suspects, your Cities, your Uniteds, your Madrids, your Inters, your Juves, they'll all be looking at this talent too. So Timo Werner is hot property. Beautiful goal scoring record. Chidi, any thoughts as a Liverpool fan? Obviously, you've got the three, and I guess this is where it relates to. There's a lot of people saying, where will he fit in? Does someone like Salah and Mane have to make way? I guess if we forget about them two going out potentially, there is the African nations anyway, so you could do with potentially another striker, regardless whether you've got to exit one out. Thoughts on Timo Werner as a player or in terms of a prospect?
So basically, I think for Liverpool, he's been linked with us. So in terms of value, so we haven't obviously with the Corona. I think like clubs' finances may have changed. So, but before the Corona, we looked at one area where potentially we're lacking is that if one of the big three get injured, we don't really have that much depth. We've got Origi's done amazingly well, but he scored in the Champions League final. He scored some key crucial goals last season, but this season he's kind of not really done a lot, and he's never really going to be a world-class player. And then obviously going underneath that, if we do kind of change the formation, sometimes we play Shaqiri up top, but obviously he wants to leave, and then Lallana, I think his contract's running up. So we were thinking, okay, let's get a quality somebody up front, and then we're looking at what kind of value can we get? And then obviously there's a lot of talk that he had a 50 million release clause if it's activated by a certain date. Obviously before pre-Corona, that was kind of good value for, we bought, and we've got links to Leipzig because we bought Naby Keita for 50 million as well. So it's 50 million, considering we haven't spent a lot for a player, that if it wasn't for a release clause could potentially be worth, I had to go back to Chelsea, but they spent 60 million on Morata, and he's as good as Morata, if not better goal scorer. So in terms of bringing him in the team, yeah, it looked like to boost us up front, it looked like a good deal. Now, obviously, there was an argument, where is he going to play? One issue was if a big bid comes in for Mane or Salah, then at least we know we've got a ready-made replacement, because he tends to play on the left, like kind of like Mane, and then cut in, and he can play up top like a Firmino, but he doesn't drop off. Obviously, he's more of a out-and-out striker. So then it would also give us a kind of different dimension to play. So that was the thinking behind it. And if those guys did stay, it would be a quality backup. Obviously, right now the issue is he's still a quality player. I've seen him play in the German league. He scores a lot of goals. You know, he will fit into our style. And Klopp is, I think, the reason why he really wants to come to us. Yeah, he wants to come to us because of Klopp. No, but I think we play similar football to
Because I agree with you. I think a lot of it's been made about what, the style of play he has, or what he does for Leipzig, and how that relates to you guys, where you play slightly different. But I think that's showing a little bit of these kind of strikers can adapt. I'm not saying he will definitely be pivotal or but the expectancy is, if you're paying 50 million for the striker, you can see that at the moment he's producing the product. He's got the end product. For me, it's more about getting the talent, and you can probably work with it. So it's not. It doesn't have to be nailed down. And these types of strikers these days, they're not nailed down to one position like you would get back in the old days, and you have Alan Shearer as a centre forward. It's like nowadays these guys can play across front threes. You can meddle with them. You can sort of shift them about. And with a player like Firmino, for example, I'm sure you could be able to balance it off like however you want to fit in Werner. So I don't really see it as some of the media have sort of suggested, it's not the right player, but I'd totally disagree. I'll be like, considering the fact that you both are interested in parties, it's just a question of the price tag. Yeah, I'll certainly sort of be. I'd just like to see it happen. And also, like I said, if you stall too long, there is every chance, like another team like Chelsea, even United, I guess anybody that's really genuinely interested can test the resolve by putting down a genuine bid to sort of, whilst you guys are potentially taking your time. But like I said, it should happen. It could happen. I think it's just a case of finances. I'm going to move on to just the other big man in Germany, and this is Kai Havertz. Now, this name is massive. I think we thought coming before pre-pandemic, names like Sancho, Haaland. Obviously, they're you can see the talent. You can see they're buzzing. You can see, I guess, with Solskjaer, Man United had previously coached Haaland. We expected almost, maybe we'd get a say. He had his pick of clubs. He chose a beautiful club, which has got plenty of talent in it, and it's a great place to develop without, I guess, the genuine pressures that maybe Premier League clubs face going towards the top. Kai Havertz is possibly right now the hottest property. I'd go out on a limb slightly, say the hottest property in the world right now. Wow. 20 years old, has spent nearly a decade at Leverkusen. Last year, he scored 17 goals in their league, so just league goals, 17 goals in 34 appearances, or along those lines. This year, he's changed his role slightly. So rather than taking a strong number of shots, he's reduced his shots slightly, and he's given a bit more depth to his midfield sort of dimensions. He's versatile. Already he can play anywhere in the middle. He's actually played as winger. They say he can play as a centre attacking midfielder. They actually say he plays as a 9.5. He kind of plays in between the striker and a centre attacking role. He's also really good defensively. He harasses. He's got a good high retention of the ball. There is so much that this guy can do. I guess as the negatives would be his heading, considering his height and stuff like that. There's stuff he can work on. And in terms of what he can actually do on a football pitch, this is one of the hottest properties going around. So who's linked with Havertz? Everybody. This is what's
is
phenomenal.
There any specific that's linked, like properly linked?
Yeah, well, so Man United are interested. Liverpool are strongly interested. Chelsea are interested. The problem is there's no player like Havertz right now. So when Owen Hargreaves described him, he described him as an Özil-Balek hybrid. There isn't nothing like Havertz. He's only 20 years old. He's last 2 seasons have been strong. He's really caught the eye this season. He just scored recently a brace. Chelsea strongly linked with him, but I'll be damned if United aren't looking at this player
but
too.
Where would he fit in United? I don't.
For me right now, it's the talent. It is the talent. So you're looking at with a player like this as well. He doesn't need to necessarily hold down. He doesn't need to necessarily be called attacking midfielder or centre midfielder. He is a beautiful talent that can play in anywhere in the middle of the park and pushing forward.
He sounds like a Pogba replacement.
Yeah.
The thing is, all eyes on him. All eyes on Havertz. He has spent nearly 10 years at the club. He's clearly loyal. He's clearly developed well. This is his time now. Someone's going to strike. I really see like someone has to strike for this guy. He is in hot goal scoring form. He is showing a little bit of more assist to his game. He can do a lot considering there is, very little going on around him. Havertz is a unique type of player, and I don't know exactly what his role is. He could be a number 10 in the future. He could be anything. He could potentially. I think there's a lot of buzz, and if coming out of Germany as well, where you've got mass talent, you've had people like Goetz, so haven't probably reached the heights.
It's surprising how many people coming out.
There's a lot of German talent.
Good, yeah.
German talent is absolutely up there. And I think the name on everyone's lips at the moment is actually Kai Havertz. So look out for this guy. He could be playing in the Premier League next season, and he could be playing for absolutely any club in terms of. I'll say quickly, just we've mentioned United, so I'll just say obviously they're looking at Angel Gomez to try and sign him on.
Right.
I know that's not a new transfer or anything, but it would be amazing because he's a sought after talent in Europe. A lot of the bigger sort of European elites around us are all sort of vying for that signature. He is highly rated. We hope to see him in the future, and preferably in Man United colours. So that's one that we're looking at.
What do you think about that though? Like, because basically now with Corona, so you've got youth players like Gomez, Saka. One player like at Liverpool is Harry Wilson. We were going to sell him to Bournemouth. I don't know if Bournemouth will pay that money now. So potentially, instead of buying someone, we might bring him back. So do you think teams are going to play their youth now more and not buy big players?
It's a more viable option. It's a more economic option. It makes sense to use your own resources first before you kind of sort of plough the market for other resources. But once again, you want to support. If we don't feel like the talent's the most premium, and they can straight away adapt to playing for us. It's more of a softly approach. You see that with Phil Foden with Man City, because obviously compared to the talent they have, they're not quite there yet. So they have to take this softly approach where they integrate you slowly. I think that's one of them players that will take a while before you see him at United, before having first team stints. It's going to take a little while.
What, Gomez?
Yeah, particularly that player.
Yeah, but then are you going to, that's what I mean. So then if you're going to say, okay, you before take softly approach, but now with Corona, if you need a midfielder, do you now throw him into the spotlight, or do you still look for a midfielder?
I think we've got a few ahead of him. However, I wouldn't want to put that kind of pressure on the youth, to be honest. I'd want to be able to use them, but also want them to be back up to someone else in all due respect. So I think my philosophy is if they're good enough, they will eventually play, or if they're good enough, they should be able to break through. If they're not quite good enough, where you feel like they run out of steam quite early, they're very viable to injury or prone to injury because of just the extremities of playing first team football compared to youth football. So whatever it is, some people take longer to grow. Maybe his body and everything needs time to grow. Some people take longer. Some people are fully built, pretty athletic looking by the time they're like 16, 17, 18. So it really depends. He's a shorter type of, smaller type of player, low centre of gravity. He's got tricky. We see him in cups and competitions, bits and pieces. So I think it'll be more like that. But let's just see. If we get an injury and we haven't replaced, and like once again, if that's what they're there for, to be played. They are your player. And yeah, we will definitely have to see. Just really quickly mention, obviously, Ighalo going out to possibly going back to parent club, Shanghai Shenhua. This is potentially, if we're not able to keep Ighalo, he's looked at someone from Monaco. So it looks like we're looking at what was dubbed a wonder kid, and it was actually an 18 million transfer for Monaco, and that's Pietro Pellegrini. I think his name is, Italian. And it looks like Man United or Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in particular may be interested. So this is the biggest gamble I've seen sort of Man United in cahoots with. And it looks like we may have, I think he's 18 years old now. So was dubbed the wonder kid, but actually last 2 seasons has been totally injured. Massive gamble on his fitness, massive gamble, but not too concrete. So I won't go too long on about it, but it looks like we're looking at 3 potential teenagers in terms of keeping Angel Gomez on the books,
Right.
looking at Jude Bellingham, and this Pietro now, Pellegrini, looks like another one that's sort of coming in. I think you've got things like Coutinho and Chelsea looking at quite a few players across the market. So I would imagine that in the future you will see a few transfers going Chelsea's way.
Okay,
it'll be
cool.
interesting times.